This is an Audio Wool original.
This episode of Frightday is brought to you by Gates of Hell Chipotle Hot Sauce by Frightday. Bold Chipotle flavor blended with habanero peppers for just the right burn. Kissed with garlic and passion fruit. Zero human blood, like none at all. Visit shop.frightday.com before the first batch disappears.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. If you'd like to support us, go to patreon.com/frightday.
It is Frightday. Are you done eating peanuts?
1 minute.
Okay, I'll give you a second.
Not peanuts.
What are they?
Well, I'm allergic to the peanuts.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cashews, almonds, and pecans.
It is Frightday. I'm your host, Byron. There are many questions youths ponder as they come of age. Who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I the way I am? What's up with this desire to eat human flesh? All important,
Oh, boy.
but some more peculiar and pressing. Whether given the opportunity or having it forced upon you, when leaving the nest, oftentimes you'll discover much more than you originally set out to gain. Community, new skills, you'll maybe even fall in love or try something new. We'll talk about that tonight as we review Luca Guadagnino's Bones and All. I'm joined tonight by Kelly.
Hello.
And Sam can't make it, but he left a cassette tape and a Walkman. Thanks, Sam.
It was really nice, yeah.
So I got sick. That's why I sound like shit. Sorry, folks.
He's sounding better, actually, I would say.
Thanks. We did talk yesterday. A lot of the December content is going to sound like this. Because Kelly's going to, Paris. And we'll talk about that in a second. But first, I think we should talk about some of the nonsense that I watched while I had a fever.
Did you watch Emily in Paris while you had a fever, too?
It's Emily in Perry. I keep telling you. Just say it right.
It's Emily in Paris.
It's not that. What is wrong with
It's
you?
Emily in Paris.
It's Perry. Emily in Perry.
No, it's Lily Collins.
Casey Anthony, Where the Truth Lies.
Casey Anthony? Forgot about that one.
911, what's your emergency? My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
It's happening, the most closely watched case, certainly since O.J. Simpson.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, not guilty.
Casey's never told her story. Did she murder her daughter?
Casey interview? Marker?
What do you think my question's gonna be?
Why did I wait 31 days to call 911?
Did you do everything in your power to protect your daughter?
The public thought that Casey didn't want to be a mother.
The lies make you think that she did murder this child.
It's not the Casey that I knew. She loved that child.
Let her through!
I lied. But no one asked why.
Man.
Peacock original.
Oof.
Wait, what? You don't like the sound of a Peacock original?
Peacock original does not sound good.
Well, they got the exclusive. This is the first interview Casey's given since she was determined by a jury of her peers to be innocent 13 years ago.
Yeah. Those peers, how many of them have,
It was in
questioned
Florida.
It
was in Florida.
Fucking Florida. God.
You want to hear an absolute bullshit synopsis, Kelly?
Yes.
Considered one of the first, quote, trials of the century that polarized conversation in living rooms across America, the Casey Anthony case is one that still leaves more questions than answers.
No, it doesn't. There are no questions. None.
There have been several movies and documentaries made to fill in the gaps, and yet the woman at the center of it all remains the biggest mystery. Throughout the exclusive 3-part documentary series, Casey Anthony finally tells her side of the story and addresses the public that has made so many assumptions for the past 13 years.
Unbelievable.
Tell me that's not like the most ridiculously biased bullshit synopsis. And by the synopsis, I guess I could tell you right now, it feels a lot like that. Obnoxious.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that.
She's a liar, Kelly. She lied her entire life, and she admitted that. Lied then about what happened to Casey and Kaylee, pardon me, and she continues to lie.
Gross.
Every interview that she did, she's like looking straight at the camera, and it felt like a really shitty taped audition, you know, the kind that like every actor in LA was forced to do during the pandemic.
Yep.
Over dramatic, prepared statements, pretty much drawing a bullseye of sympathy on her the entire time. For the interview, she rented a house, brought along all of these framed pictures of Kaylee, her drawings, and she's like,
here's the problem. She made so much money on this. That's gross.
oh, on this specific interview. I guess I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, you're like supporting it.
You know me, Kelly. When I hear, like, I watched the whole Army Hammer thing.
Oh yeah, I heard that was pretty overblown.
I feel that way, but I'm not going to minimize possible sexual assault allegations. I think that they need to be investigated, but I think it was a tasteless documentary. I'm all for those things being made for the most part, but this is trash. This is absolute garbage. It's gross that they're letting her continue this lie. She repeatedly claims that her dad took Kaylee while they were sleeping in the morning and he drowned her in a pool and then took her away. It's crazy. There's no evidence that her father had anything to do with this other than he's an ex-cop. I don't know. That's just my perspective. Another hot take I saw this morning that had me hot. Rosie O'Donnell saying a bunch of nonsense.
Oh, God.
So, I'm in my car, and I'm thinking about Casey Anthony. I watched that whole documentary, and I believe her father did it. I do. Listen, it kind of made sense to me, what she was saying, and I believed her. And everyone said she was a great mom. I don't know. I know this is going to be a controversial opinion.
She thinks that the documentary is riveting.
What an amazing, amazing documentary. Truly one of the best ones I've seen in a long time. It was riveting.
And she would love to interview the amazing director behind it for her podcast that's launching in February.
Gross.
I don't know what doc she was watching, but even in my fever, where everything else in my world was also kind of on fire, looking at you, Kanye West, I still managed to have a pretty solid grasp on what this documentary is. But I guess I'd be very curious to know what the folks who listen to our podcast think about this. You could send me an email, byron@frightday.com, or we've got social media at Frightday everywhere. So I'm really curious because not worth watching. If you are curious, I'm going to say skip it.
Yeah, I'd say skip it just because you don't want to support those fucking wretched people.
Don't watch. Instead, maybe you could watch Kings of Pain, Kelly. It's a look at a wildlife biologist and professional animal handler as they get bit and stung by some of the most dangerous animals and insects in the world to create a complete and comprehensive pain index to help save lives, which I think is that's like the silliest hook for a show. There's no reason that would we know what is deadly. We don't need these two jabronis to get stung and bit by things, right?
Okay, I have a question. Is jabroni a mean word? Is it like
No, I'm gonna keep beeping when you say that word. It's just slang for a stupid, foolish, or contemptible person.
So it's another word for deplorable is what you're saying.
Stop. You're just trying to...
I'm just saying that's a word that we really should try to avoid is all. It's gotten us in trouble before.
Good point. Great. Mm-hmm. Watched a couple episodes of that dumb show. I thought that kind of helped me out a little bit.
Yeah.
But mostly I slept hard for 3 days.
Very proud of you for that. I know that's hard for you to do.
Yeah, it drives me crazy. Back up and out the door, ran 5 miles in the snow before the podcast. I'm cured, folks. Also, get your flu shots. You don't want this. It was really, really bad.
When I got sick last week, weekend. They tested me for like 2 different kinds of flu. I didn't have either of them, but
I didn't think they could test for flu, but that's really interesting.
They can, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, they stabbed me a bunch, took a whole bunch of blood.
What'd you do over the past little chunk of time?
Well, I've been packing a lot.
Oh, yes, yeah. Wait, yeah, you're packing for Paris. What are you doing in Paris? Are you stealing skulls for me like I asked?
I mean, we'll see. I'm going to go see if I can EVP Jim Morrison.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to go see Landmarks.
Very
I'm
nice.
going to see the Christmasings. Lots of Christmas markets and lights.
Well, cool. If you could snatch me a skull at the catacombs, I would really appreciate that. You wouldn't need to give me, I won't say any other Christmas presents, but that could be the big one.
You know, I feel like maybe it would not be a good idea for me to do that. I really like Christmas. I don't want to end up in a French prison.
You should do the same thing that all those youth activists are doing with famous paintings and soup cans, but you should do it in the catacombs.
Just completely deface.
Splash like a gallon of tomato sauce in the catacombs and glue your hands to the floor.
I don't like that idea.
Are you sure, though?
I don't like it.
Would you consider it?
Yeah.
All right, so gonna miss you, Kelly. Travel safe.
Oh, I will.
But before you leave, you should probably finish your shift because these DVD copies of, I didn't pick one. Let's see.
Oh, no.
These DVD copies of Love and Basketball aren't going to put themselves away.
Oh, my God. I could sing every song from that soundtrack.
It's time for staff picks.
They say so much, but they never tell you if it's any good.
E.T.'s mom in it?
The Howling, horror, straight ahead.
Oh my gosh, that was like the most romantic movie I had ever seen when that came out. I was obsessed with that. That is enough to make me want to drop my movie and make Love and Basketball my staff pick for the night. I want so badly
Please
to now.
don't. I guess I have a tangential hook here because that film was produced by Spike Lee. Interesting. Maybe I'll start. I tried really hard to find a film that fit tonally, one that we also hadn't talked about already, something that didn't feel cliche, like Let the Right One In, Raw. We did a whole episode on it, and my favorite film in a long time, My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To, very much along the same lines. I kind of punted this week. This is a blind recommendation, Kelly.
Oh, I'm doing one of those too. That's okay.
A film from 2001, which is a year after.
Okay, good. At least we're not doing the same one. I was worried.
That would be insane if we did a blind rec of the same film. Came out a year after Love and Basketball. Shockingly, it's a ghost film. Starring the Dogfather himself, Calvin Brodus Jr., DJ Snoopadelic, Big Snoop Doggy Dog. The film, Kelly, it's called Bones.
What's the matter, bro? You spooked? This place is off the hook.
There's nothing but a dark world of pain locked in that building.
The last owner on the lease was back in '79. Some cat named Jimmy Bones.
Jimmy Bones?
Yeah, why? You heard of him?
This is the story of Jimmy Bones, black as night, hard as stone.
It's the past, Patrick. It's dead.
Gold plated deuce like the king of Siam. Got a switchblade loose and a diamond on his hand. Dude, there's a switchblade and there's a diamond.
I don't think your past is dead, Pop. It's alive. Jimmy Bones, is that you? We killed you. Are you looking to score?
Little brother. I got a natural high. A supernatural high.
Okay, so Byron, before you go any further, because it is the Christmas season, I need you to Google Snoop on the Stoop.
Snoop on the Stoop?
I mean, you're familiar with Elf on a Shelf,
Elf on the
right?
Shelf. Okay, holy cow. Look at this guy. Is that Snoop Doggy Dog dressed in green?
It is.
Is he smoking a little bit of...
He sure is.
All right, wow. Chiba
It's pretty hilarious.
It's 1979, and Jimmy Bones is a legendary patron in his thriving urban neighborhood.
Okay.
Handsome and respected, Bones is unexpectedly betrayed and murdered by those closest to him for refusing to deal crack cocaine to his people. Flash forward to present day. Crime and drugs have crumbled the neighborhood. Bones' once elegant brownstone, the dwelling in which he was brutally killed, remains standing, but has become decrepit. As fate would have it, the sons of Bones' old friend Jeremiah, one of those who betrayed him, have returned to the old neighborhood to open an after-hours nightclub, buying the Gothic structure where Jimmy Bones still lies buried in the basement. No sooner do they cross the threshold of the cursed edifice than a series of... Did I say that? Is that the right word? Yeah. What's edifice mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a...
Entryway?
Like a statue or a... No, I mean, it can be an entryway, but it's like a large symbolic marker.
Sure. Of the cursed edifice, then a series of strange and unexplainably terrifying events begin to take place, and soon it becomes shockingly clear that Jimmy Bones is staging a comeback, and he's hell-bent on revenge, intent on tracking down and visiting vengeance upon all of those who betrayed him. Kelly, Bones isn't looking to score. He's got a natural high. A supernatural high.
Supernatural?
Yeah. Directed by a guy named Ernest Derrickson. He's mostly known as a cinematographer that works with Spike Lee. They were actually classmates at Tisch. But as a director, he did... I don't know if this was an anthology or not. Tales from the Crypt's Demon Knight, Knight. Did you ever see that? I've seen the cover, but I've never seen it.
No.
He also directed the buddy cop film Bulletproof, starring Damon Wayans and Adam Sandler. Remember that thing?
I do remember it. Didn't see it either, though.
I saw that one, actually. That one was pretty good. Obviously, this film looks like it rips. I don't know if the reviews reflect that, but it's got some cool original songs performed by Snoop Dogg himself, and I think it looks fun. And this was a punt, and I did my job. Kelly.
Mine is one that I had never even heard of until I started researching cannibal movies.
All right.
But we've got kind of a double connection to tonight's film. It's Dakota Johnson, who was in Suspiria. Her dear old dad was in a flick in 1975 that actually took place in post-nuclear war America of 2024. Okay. So we're like inching up on it, all right?
Sure.
It's a movie called A Boy and His Dog.
A Boy and His Dog. A film that has become a cult legend.
Right now I'm hungry and I want to get laid.
That's what you always say.
You go find a chick and I'll hustle us up some food.
I can't do good work when I'm hungry.
You ain't pulling that crap on me again. And you can shove that part about how you lost the ability to hunt for food when you learned how to talk.
No food, no females.
After World War IV, your dog will tell you what to do. How to laugh, how to love, how and who to kill.
That stupid broad.
You're so funny when you're sexually frustrated.
Damn it.
A boy and his dog sometimes talk to each other.
You've talked about A Boy and His Dog, I believe. I will check the records. I'll check the records, but why don't you keep...
I don't think I have.
Why don't you tell me about this thing?
It is about a boy and his dog.
Sure.
It's a telepathic dog, not any old dog, but it's a telepathic dog whose name is Blood. And, Blood is a really man's best friend in this case to Don Johnson. Don Johnson is only 18 years old in this movie, or at least plays an 18-year-old.
I was going to say,
and he's...
Excuse me. Looks young. Pardon me for the coughing.
And it's a bit of a road movie in a different sense. They're like wandering around the southwestern United States, and
but it's a wasteland,
he's looking
right?
for... We got androids. We've got mutants. Apparently, the dog, Blood, can frustrate Don Johnson by periodically calling him Albert for a reason that doesn't.
Wait, do you hear the dog's voice?
Get revealed. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so it's telepathic. You hear the voice in Vic's head. It's a telepathic dog, so it's not like.
So it's a look. Yeah. It's a look who's talking situation. Look who's talking. A little bit, yeah. Too, and specifically, rest in peace, Kirstie Alley, who just died tonight.
Right. Jason Robards is in this movie.
And who's that?
Oh, Jason Robards is a really famous old actor. Trying to think of what you would have seen. I mean, like Once Upon a Time in the West.
Nope,
and
never saw it.
Yeah, but you know what it is.
I don't,
at least.
actually.
I'm just trying to think of. No, really?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. He was in Magnolia, it looks like.
Yep, there you go.
We've been doing this for almost
Magnolia.
8 years, Kelly. You know that I don't watch old movies.
I know you don't watch them, but like it's just weird to me that you wouldn't have heard of Once Upon a Time in the West. Like literally, we watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yes.
which the whole name
Modern
was
film.
a takeoff on Once Upon a Time in the West. Anyhow, Jason Robards, very famous actor, but he was in this. This was a very low budget movie. It was under $500,000 production budget.
This looks right up my
Really-
alley, if I'm being honest. This looks like my thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah,
like,
so
it's got
also-
vibes of like the original I Am Legend, which was that
Yes, it
Charles,
does.
Charles?
Charlton?
Omega Man, Charleston Heston.
Charlton.
The gun guy, Cold Dead Hands guy.
Charlton Heston.
Yeah.
Charlton. Isn't it Charlton?
I think
Is it Charleston?
I think it was
No,
Charleston.
it's a Charleston chew. It's Charlton Heston. isn't it?
Charlton isn't a name, is it? It is Charlton. That's not a real name, folks. But yeah, Omega Man was great.
Byron just had a Mandela moment.
Name another Charlton.
There isn't another one because
Exactly.
no one would name their name after him. Okay, but listen to this. It's also very important because it cycles. This movie, A Boy and His Dog, also ties back to my trip to Paris.
Yeah.
Because Ray Manzarek, who was the keyboardist in The Doors,
I know how much you love that.
was one of the people who wrote the score for A Boy and His Dog.
Wow. And that's not the last time we're going to be talking scores tonight, folks. We got some heavy hitters tonight.
Yeah, which is funny also because when we came out of the movie theater, Sam named who, like we didn't see it in the credits,
Yeah.
but Sam immediately was like, that has to be who did that score.
Well, I can't wait to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
This flick sounds fun. I love the shitty, like, post-apocalyptic makeup. Very much.
Well, and it's
a Mega Man face.
significantly, it influenced Mad Max significantly.
Yeah.
George Miller
I
even
could
said
see
so.
that. Yeah. Well, cool, Kelly. Boy and His Dog.
Check it on out.
All right. Great. So yeah, I guess it's time for everyone to make their final selections and find the way to the counter because we'll check you out. But
I'm gonna go ahead and take all of the copies of Love and Basketball because that movie is
great. Well, why don't you take them to the back room? And while we're there, let's take a second to welcome and initiate some new members into the Frightday Society. Natasha W.
Hi, Natasha.
Hi, Natasha. Welcome. Thank you so much. I'm going to need you to go on a several months long journey to find yourself. Maybe.
Or at least your his mother who abandoned you when you were a baby. And
I think I might have to beep some of that. But yeah, Natasha.
Yeah, sorry. Spoilers.
When you get back, send us an email, contact@frightday.com. Let us know how your journey went. James H. James is back.
James, welcome back.
Welcome back. And if you're out there listening, if you've ever been a member, now's a great time to join. We have so many bonus episodes of, what do we got? Behind the Screams, the show Behind the Show. I think we're into our 90s on that. That's a lot of episodes of
it's so many.
the show. That
Byron lets me say more things there too. He gets angry about them, but he lets me say them.
I kind of let it rip sometimes. It's a mix
That
of
is
the two.
true.
But also bonus episodes of Captain Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies, Byron Serial Corner, The Writers Room, Toast to Toast, PM with Wine Kelly. Lots of stuff. And I guess the old Camp Frightdays. Both of them are there as well.
As well as another one coming on.
Announcement pending. Yeah, absolutely. So I hope you're ready for that. But James, why don't you go on a journey as well? You've already done one initiation. It doesn't hurt to, uproot your life and go learn a little bit about yourself and let us know how that goes. Contact@frightday.com. If you want to join the Frightday Society, go to cult.frightday.com. It's only $6.66 a month, and you get everything that I said, plus those warm fuzzy feelings that you get when you support creators like us.
Love it. Love it.
Speaking of love, the movie that we're doing tonight.
And Happiness, that's a song from
Love
the
and
soundtrack
Basketball.
of Love and Basketball.
Okay.
Lots of Al Green songs on that. Great flick. Oh, so good. Now I just want to go watch that.
We could just take a break.
Ending's a lot less depressing than Bones and all.
We'll be right back after we watch Love and Basketball with our review of Bones and all.
hope you're enjoying your visit here this evening. Now, on with the show.
Bones and All is a 2022 romantic horror road film directed by Luca Guadagnino, based on a 2015 novel called Bones and All by Camille DeAngelis. Love blossoms between a young woman on the margins of society and a disenfranchised drifter as they embark on a 3,000-mile odyssey through the back roads of America. However, despite their best efforts, all roads lead back to their terrifying pasts and a final stand that will determine whether their love can survive their differences. Luca is back on a mission.
Back in a better way.
All right, he's trying to win my heart. We've covered one of his films, episode 195. Suspiria came out, can you believe it, 2018, Kelly.
Wow,
Remake.
4 years ago?
Beautiful work. Looked great.
Yeah, it was fine.
It was beautiful. I thought they did a good job with it. I do like the original
This was
better.
a lot more beautiful.
Save a little bit. Save a little bit of your opinion for later on in the review. But
oh, right. Yep.
Yeah, you like Luca, though, quite a bit. I think one of the first times you brought him to my table was a film that called to you.
Yeah, which one was that?
2017's Call Me By Your Name, which I've yet to see.
Oh, God.
Never seen it. Timothy Chalamet.
Oh.
Luca's muse, apparently.
Timothy Chalamet and a cannibal.
He's not a cannibal. He's not a cannibal.
I know, but it's a fun soundbite.
He's got a fetish. It's a mess.
Problematic because of the power dynamic,
yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I mean, you like his work. It's not the first stuff that he did. His career goes back. Italian filmmaker, directed a handful of things.
Commercials and things he does.
Yeah, but I mean, he did a couple other things as well. He's been actively working since, 1997? Had a feature in 1999, Their Protagonists. He worked a lot with Tilda Swinton early on in his career as well.
She's very talented.
I should add I Am Love to my DVD copies list because I've seen that cover a million times. I've never seen the movie.
Really?
Yeah. Walking Stories, he did a short, a bigger splash, then a large smash, Call Me By Your Name. He's very talented.
He is very talented.
He did a Sufjan Stevens video? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My love, I lost my faith in everything.
Yeah, he's done some very strange things.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, are we going to talk about this journey? I'm really excited about this. I saw it first. I went to the theater.
You did.
I went to a little indie theater. Did you end up going to the Roxy as well?
No, we went to the other one because of timing.
Well, I mean, you sit down or dine in?
No, we went to the dine-in, but we just had popcorn.
Oh, but you did recline.
Yes, we did recline.
I haven't sat in a normal stadium-style theater I guess since you and I went to Nope on the Oregon coast.
Oh, wow. Okay. Huh.
I don't know how I feel about them. There's a warmth that I feel now when I sit in the cushioned reclines of the dine-in theaters. I'm kind of addicted to it.
It was a good. I actually was a little bit worried because when we came in, it was a fairly empty theater, except the row behind us was completely full, and it was youngins.
Yeah, but you had dine-in, so you're like at least 15 feet between each other still, right?
Yes, but still like full row, and I'm like,
I could see that, yeah.
They shushed down, and then I could hear them sobbing quietly when I was sobbing quietly too, so it was good.
See, that's the Chalamet conundrum. That's the problem with this thing. Any film with Timothy Chalamet is going to bring the youths.
Bring all the girls to the yard?
Well, sure, certainly. Yeah, that is possible.
Some of the boys too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about Tim. Was his real breakout?
I know he's friends with Larry David.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, cool. Which makes me love him. That's like all I needed to know. Once I knew
Larry
that,
David
I was
got
like,
canceled,
okay.
Kelly.
Like officially or just like,
He's being sued over the FTX thing that happened.
Oh, I knew that. That doesn't count as a canceling.
I don't know about
I knew about that.
Yeah.
That's not a canceling.
One of his early roles was Interstellar. He was also a child actor on Law and Order, Royal Pains.
Yep.
Homeland. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I think he's an incredible actor. I just haven't really seen a lot of him. He was fun in Don't Look Up, basically played the same character.
Yeah, although funnier. Like, he was a little bit more lighthearted in that.
Yeah, not as intelligent for sure. But also in this film, we've got Taylor Russell, which I recognized her immediately, but couldn't place where I'd seen her before. Turns out she really, I don't know if it was her blow up, but she was in a real stinker that we almost covered for the podcast. A film called Escape Room, which you don't even remember going to.
No, I literally don't. But that's because we had to leave.
We did have to leave. Yeah, we went, the first 15 minutes played, and then the audio went out, and it never came back. And they said they couldn't fix it. So we left Escape Room. I ended up going back. I think it's a fine film. And she actually came back for the sequel, which came out 2 years after that in 2021, Escape Room Tournament of Champions, which is really interesting because Adam Robidahl directed that one as well. He directed the first and the sequel, which it must be a passion project. I don't know the quality of the second film. I thought the first one was fine, but it was a little silly. Of course, Adam, you'd know from Taking of Deborah Logan, but yeah, it was cool. It was really cool to see Taylor Russell in this role.
It was.
I mean, she's incredible.
I think all of the performances in this movie were really impressive, and hers stood out even among the impressive set of performances.
It's really cool because the world feels very open, but we've got just a tight fistful of characters, which...
Yep. I'm going to make a weird comparison, and this could be so far off because I actually haven't seen this movie since it first came out. Did you ever see Cold Mountain?
You know, actually, I don't know if I have. I am familiar with the film.
There was something about this that reminded me of that, like in the way that the characters kind of entered the story and then exited the story. Like,
sure, it's
there was
chapters almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen Bones and All compared to both Bonnie and Clyde and Natural Born Killers. And while I love both of those movies,
it's not
the
really
comparison
fair.
Doesn't really work for me because those are very much about characters that are as bad as good. There's a cute love story underneath it, but there's a lot more
That's a very
scary there.
Surface level interpretation of what's going on here.
Yeah, these characters felt so genuinely good despite
doing bad
the
things.
Obvious situation. I mean, it really was almost a overwhelmingly clear analogy for addiction.
A handful of things though too, like not just addiction.
Yeah,
like
I think you can go a lot of different directions with it.
I don't know, poverty, mental health, sexuality, and the stigma surrounding those things. Like, yeah, as you go through cannibalism, which we'll get into more, is used as like a metaphor for that. Something that's seen in society as shameful that these two people come together and kind of experience together. The thing that really stood out to me that also kind of, and we'll get into the actual plot here in a second, but like, this is such a great example of the traditional hero's journey. And that's what almost made it feel, I think I kept saying like a fantasy thing to you, but it isn't, that's not the right way to describe it, but maybe traditional.
Yeah. Can I give you some fun facts before you go too far into the serious stuff? Yeah. First of all, it was filmed in Ohio, and apparently production was slowed down because there were so many break-ins to the film crew's cars while they were filming.
Wait, where in Ohio? I've been all over Ohio.
Right by Cincinnati. Well, it was filmed in a couple different places, but this was happening by Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And so they actually asked for $50,000 in security costs from the Cincinnati City Council to try and stop the break-ins.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting.
I was thinking that it was because people were trying to smooch and hug Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, well, yeah, that probably
the additional security costs.
This is the first of Luca's movies that both took place in and was filmed in America. He's done a lot of Italian things.
I mean, why do you think that would be?
I mean, because he's an Italian
Because he's an Italian guy, yeah.
Yeah, but this is, he's done, I mean, like Call Me By Your Name,
of course.
Obviously a very American cast. So Timothy Chalamet obviously was in Call Me By Your Name. So was one of my favorite actors in this entire movie, which Byron, hopefully we're going to have a chance to discuss a little bit more in depth.
David Gordon Green.
Oh, yeah, we can discuss him too, but I'm not half as excited about him.
Wait, you
really? That's like...
I was joking.
I was
of
talking
course,
about...
no one's favorite actor is David Gordon Green. Come on, Kelly. You're talking about Michael.
I was talking about Michael Stolberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stolberg.
I mean,
anyhow,
I love Michael.
He plays Chalamet's dad in Call Me By Your Name, and it's one of my favorite all-time movie scenes. Really amazing, touching. Yeah.
The thing I recognized him from was Your Honor, that like kind of fine.
He played Meyer Lansky in Boardwalk Empire.
I was not really paying attention during my Boardwalk Empire watchings way back in early mid 2000s.
I'm going to say the score was amazing.
Wait, can you recognize what I'm saying before moving on?
Well, no, because the fact I don't even want to talk about the Michael Stolberg. That's what he was most well known for, was the Meyer Lansky thing. So that's why.
What's Meyer Lansky?
Meyer Lansky is a famous mobster who played a central role in the Boardwalk Empire series, and that was like what he was best known for a long period of time.
I know him better as Jimmy Baxter from Your Honor. That's all.
Right, but that's just the last couple of years. This was
soundtrack.
The score, when we came out, Sam immediately said, I think he actually technically said that had to be 9 Inch Nails, but I'm sure he meant it was, Reznor.
Trent Reznor. Yeah, of course.
Which it was very beautiful. Although the one thing that annoyed me, the trailer had this really beautiful Leonard Cohen song in it, and I was very sad that I didn't hear that anywhere in the movie, but that's fine.
How did Trent Reznor become the best in the industry at this point? Like,
it's so weird. He's like
was Social Network his first like big thing? Was that right?
He's like the Debbie Downer John Williams now.
It's fucking wild. It was beautiful, but it was so sad.
So sad.
Incredible.
So sad. And it's funny because things that I didn't even know he did, like when I sit and look at the list, like, oh yeah, he did the soundtrack or the score to the TV show The Watchmen, which was freaking phenomenal.
He works with David Fincher all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You did mid-90s with Jonah Hill. Love that.
I did see him in concert. That was fun.
Wait, you saw Trent Reznor or 9 Inch Nails?
Well, they're the same thing.
Well, yeah, but it's different. It's different when a guy is a conductor versus being the lead singer of an industrial rock band.
Totally. I have to say, though, of all the concerts I've ever seen, it's the most scared I've ever been in a crowd.
Oh, wow.
The rabid female fans trying to get to the stage, like to lay hands on him.
Really?
It was, I am not kidding you, Byron. Like, I have never experienced anything even close to that. And I've been to a lot of concerts.
Is Trent a hunk?
I think for a certain
type,
and especially during a certain era,
yeah,
there was nothing more. I would say that the same type of women that follow around Raven Digitalis are the type of women that
local poll
were ready,
really unnecessary.
Were ready to murder people to get to that stage, and I was so scared.
Interesting,
because I was enjoying it, but I certainly was not anywhere at that
level.
Not
like that.
Yeah.
Well.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know this. Did you know that he recorded Downward Spiral in the Manson house?
That must have been in one of our conversations about the haunting of...
Must have been.
Yeah.
Probably. I just didn't realize that.
Wow.
Crazy. All right. Yes.
1980s Virginia.
88. I did look into it because Sam and I were debating this as well.
You didn't know if it was early or late 80s?
Well, he thought it was early 80s, and I said, no, that had to be late 80s. Those clothings were closer to 90s than they were to 70s.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Marin Yearly.
Sam argued with me, but I was right.
Marin sneaks out of her home. She's got this new friend that's trying to help her fit in at this school. She's obviously new.
Slumber party.
Sneaks into their house. They're hanging out, having fun, listening to music, painting their nails. Unfortunately, Marin ends up, this is one of the coolest cold opens to a film I've seen in a bit, bites one of the girl's fingers off.
No, not the bone.
Just kind of like degloves a finger.
Degloves her finger.
And
just a snickety snack.
Unfortunately, the party's over at that point. She runs back to her trailer house where her dad he had locked her in there when you're wondering why the heck would a girl need to be locked in a trailer house
I mean,
bedroom?
I wasn't really wondering because I knew the movie was about cannibals, so I wasn't really wondering.
Okay.
But maybe you were wondering.
I was just going along for the ride, Kelly, but her single dad, this guy named Frank, he's quickly like, we gotta get out of here. We gotta go before they find us. And they pack up what they can and leave. It's pretty apparent that this isn't the first time that this has happened. Yeah, they relocate to Maryland.
Yeah.
Shortly after Marin's 18th birthday, she wakes up to find a cassette tape, a letter, and a Walkman on the table. Her dad, and money as well, in a manila envelope. But yeah, and her birth certificate. That's also very important. He's left. He can't do it anymore, which I kind of don't blame him. What a really hard life. What a really tough position to be put in. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're a mother, so I'm sure that if you raised a daughter who was actively a cannibal that caused you to have to relocate several times in your life,
yeah,
that's tough.
It would be very, very difficult. I have no idea what I would do. But I also think that I know it's the most surface level analogy, but for me, because I think everybody has addicts that they love or have loved at different points in their life, and it really reminded me of that. Like when parents get to a point, like I've seen this with family members, like you want so badly to help and you try all of these different ways to help, and then it's heartbreaking when you realize that there is nothing you can do,
But it's tough to look at her at this point in the movie as if she's someone who is an addict, because she seems to be functioning well for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Like she's not struggling actively.
Well, anytime she's gotten into a situation, her dad's gotten her out of it.
That is true, but she's not like in the throes of addiction, from what I'm saying. But also, a lot of this film, I think, it comes from the perspective of our protagonist. Like,
yes.
it has a glow of their interpretation of what's going on.
Yeah, and so they may not see. I mean, there are even hints as Marin's journey progresses and she meets Lee.
Yeah.
There are points of discussion from outside parties about how junkie-like Lee looks.
Sure. Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily...
Let's not go too far into Lee quite yet.
Well, I'm just saying it's not necessarily the vibe that we're getting as the viewers, because we're seeing a completely different approach to his existence. But I think that this could be, she's had a few serious run-ins with this situation, and one part, her dad can't help her anymore, but another part, I think there's probably a hope that such a significant jarring event would be enough to scare her out of walking any further down that road.
You're saying her dad would want that? I don't think her dad had any intention of ever seeing his daughter again, though.
Oh, I agree.
But traditionally in addiction, I see what you're saying, though, if we're using that as a metaphor.
Yeah.
She has her birth certificate, and for the first time in her life, she knows the name of her mother?
Of her mother, yep. She knew nothing about her dad, would never talk about her mom.
So she's on a journey to find her mother.
Yep.
With some of the money that her dad gave her, she hops on a bus, and she heads to where, Kelly? I cannot remember, and this is so funny because the movie did such a great job of telling you exactly when and where they were. Giant bold letters like state.
Ohio. I feel like she was headed somewhere in Ohio.
So she was in
Maryland.
Maryland.
She was ultimately trying to get to Minnesota, but she was headed to Ohio, right?
I believe so. But you see what I'm saying, though? Like those, yes, it is Ohio. You are right. But like it was like OH and like the month on the screen several times. And you think that I would like maintain that information and use it, but no.
No, there's too much else going on.
There's a lot going on. However, Ohio, headed that way. She didn't get all the way to where she was wanting. She didn't have enough money for that. But once she gets off the bus, she's trying to burn some of the night at the bus station across the street. She sees a man in a suit staring at her. And he makes his way towards her.
I don't know if this happened to you, but during that scene, I was looking and I was like, what is she looking at? And I was trying to figure out what she was looking at. It took me a while to
see the
figure.
Huh.
Yeah.
I think I saw it the whole time. I wonder if it was darker in your theater or not, but that's interesting. It's a guy named Sully, turns out, eccentric old guy. and he says that he smelt her as soon as she got to town, and that he too is an eater. Which at this point, I'd love to know your thoughts on the term eater. You know, every zombie show has to have a Walker style name. I kind of like eater, honestly.
It was fine. It certainly didn't bother me. I didn't have this like, whoa, that's the coolest way to talk about it. But it also didn't bother me.
I think that's the best way for it to work, is to not be a distraction.
It seemed natural. It seemed like a normal, natural. You know, what do you call somebody who eats other humans? I guess an eater.
That's an eater.
Seems good.
Yeah. Are you familiar at all with the source material of this, the book?
The young adult?
Yeah.
Not at all.
I kind of had a feeling for some reason, but also I was impressed with the way that Luca handled material in a young adult novel and then made it not that way.
He said he started adapting it right when the book came out, so I don't know.
It was in 2015.
And it just seems so strange to me. It worked beautifully, but it's certainly, you know, it's kind of as if somebody took a Hunger Games book
or a Twilight
and turned it into like a Mad Max like masterpiece or something.
I don't
like
know if it's a Mad Maxian.
I just mean leveling something up from like one arena of popular culture to a completely different arena. It's interesting for him to see in a very strange place such inspiration for a very meaningful film.
I looked at the cover and it kind of screams sensitive mall goth, and I don't really love that. I am very intrigued about reading this book potentially, but I guess I'd be curious to know if folks listening have read it and think it's worth reading. So Sully, though, he invites her back to a house that he's staying at to
cook her dinner.
Cook her dinner, of course. He's got a couple Cornish game hens. He does a little nice split down the middle. I imagine olive oil.
So many Cornish game hens this week. Episode of Servant with Cornish game hens. This with Cornish game hens.
Yeah,
just
can't get enough.
Nothing but the Cornish game hens.
And they kind of talk a little bit about this. I mean, this is the first time that she's ever been able to explore this feeling. You know, it's something that her dad suppressed.
Yeah, she's never met anyone else who is like this.
Well, and any time that any of those things happened with her, her dad was so quick to scoop her up, take her somewhere else, and I imagine not talk about it.
Probably not.
Because I think there's points in the movie where she says she doesn't even remember. Like, certainly doesn't remember the first time she did it. It's something that her dad describes in the tapes. She's spacing it out. It's a pre-podcast era, so I guess people don't binge a couple hours or an hour of audio. She's really savoring the words of her father.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting too.
Yeah.
The media consumption in this movie was, I think, a fairly interesting statement about the difference between the time it took place and now.
But they're not there to eat Cornish game hens. There's a smell, and it is coming from upstairs. It is the house owner who has... I interpreted it as she was having a diabetic issue and may be dying like that. Do you think she was just dying?
Yeah, she seemed real old.
But she seemed like she could have been helped.
Well, also my impression about what was happening with her was one thing when it was taking place, and it was a different thing by the end of the movie as I like look back on it.
I don't know exactly what you mean by that.
During the beginning of the movie, I took him for his word that, like, yeah, this was just a woman who was dying of natural causes, essentially. And that's how he's survived. Yeah, he just Toucan Sam's around.
Okay, interesting. And
maybe that's what his feather in his cap is. Maybe it's a toucan feather.
Sure. She's not terribly comfortable with this, or with him, really. And she goes and lays down in a bedroom for a while as they wait for the old lady to die. And when she does... it's almost like they can breathe it, you know, like immediately she knows. And they both come out of their bedrooms and they start feasting on an old lady. And one of the cool things that I liked about this, even though there are moments of very significant gore and violence, they don't linger on the victim of the cannibal stuff for the most part.
What do you...
like maybe in this first scene, you see her bite into the side of an old lady, and then it goes to like pictures on the mantle of the old lady and her family. They don't like show them tearing into a body in a grotesque way.
Oh, but what they do share, do you know what she was eating?
What was she eating?
This is fun for the practical effects. Maraschino cherries.
Okay.
Dark chocolate and fruit roll-ups.
Decadent. I love it. That sounds fun.
I know.
But
That
you know what
sounds
I'm
like
saying?
amazing.
Like this film could have been far more gory for sure.
Yeah, which is interesting because I read some reviews that was like that were, can't imagine a film more gory than this. I'm like, really?
No, you just haven't. What it does is incredibly effective. They do a great job of setting you up emotionally to be uncomfortable or attached to these moments.
Yep.
Maybe that's what's hitting folks so much. It's the Hitchcock, What you don't see means a lot more.
I agree. I totally agree.
Let's meet Lee. She gets bad feelings about Sully after this. I mean, dude, honestly, like, weirdest one night stand you could ever have, not sexually, but as a cannibal, to learn the ropes from this weird old man with a rat tail.
Yep.
Weird night.
Yep.
Get the fuck out.
I mean, but also hard to walk away from because
kind of.
She's been isolated as a person. Of course, I guess maybe her background and moving as much as she has made her much more capable of relying only on herself. But
she has this new father figure too, kind of. Someone who actually understands her, but he is still kind of creepy.
Something sets her spidey sense off to like, well, maybe this isn't the right place. Okay, I'm going to go check out that Chalamet.
Heads to Indiana.
That Chalamet looks nice.
Indiana, grocery store. She's picking up some stuff, stealing it, shoplifting. And she meets the eye of Lee, and Lee is Timothy Chalamet. Lee sees another, like a dickhead trucker type. Mm-hmm. What's he end up doing? He says some...
He's harassing some woman who's just walking by him in a grocery store, and he says something rude, and she doesn't respond, and he gets mad at her for ignoring or something like that. But
so Lee, he's at 150 soaking wet. This tiny little Chalamet...
150 is a generous weight for that man. I mean, I feel like that was one of the safe reasons that Marin was so attracted to him. Clearly, there is no risk of wanting to eat him because there's no meat.
Guy's lean.
There is nothing.
Well, but that was rule one that Sully taught.
It's a lousy meal. Yeah, but
eaters don't eat eaters, Kelly. Eaters don't eat eaters.
We don't know if Sully really makes the rules, though.
That's one of the coolest things about this thing. Is like a vampire movie. You know the lore: garlic, crosses, holy water, sunlight. We don't even know what the fuck is going on because what is an eater? What is this world where cannibals do exist and are seemingly prevalent, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah. Reminds me of Big Feet.
Big Feet aren't real. Neither are eaters, but eaters don't eat eaters. Lee does eat other people, though. Lee tricked that guy out into like a weird abandoned cinder block building and ends up going to town on him.
Gobbledygook.
And when he emerges, he's covered in blood, and he sees Marin there, and he's like, hi. They have like wouldn't consider this a meet cute, but it elevated the weirdness, the surreality of it. He just comes out of this building covered in blood. What world do they kind of walk around without the sense of, I don't want to get caught? I know that that does come into play, but it seems like so casual sometimes that it does kind of up the surreality of it, which is, it just makes it not this world,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
The same way that It Follows had small elements that made it not feel like our universe. It's still 1988, but it's not quite our 1988 because of...
Do you remember your 1988?
No, I was 2 years old, so...
Yeah, and I was 5. I don't remember it either. So.
I don't know. I could be crazy about this. I was all hopped up on organic gummy bears at this point, so having a great night.
Wow. What kind of organic gummy bears? What are we talking about?
Like fruit puree gummies. They tasted great.
From where? Where are they from? I don't know.
Bag.
What brand?
Don't remember.
What brand?
I can't recall.
Fuck. You're not helpful.
I'm really sorry. Lee and Marin, they connect because obviously they're both eaters as well. I mean, after a little bit of pushing, Lee lets her in the truck and they're off.
Well, he's a lonely character too,
Well, but he's a lone wolf as well.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
They talk a little bit more about what it is to be an eater. They travel, and Lee agrees to help Marin find her mother.
Which is actually a pretty significant offer. I mean, I think that was one of the things that started annoying me a little bit about Marin by the end of the movie was, okay, dude.
Lack of appreciation for
yeah,
what Lee did?
Like,
what else is Lee doing, though? What else is Lee doing? He's in a stolen truck.
Doesn't matter.
Killed the guy who took a truck. They're just crossing the country having fun.
I still say it doesn't matter. I still feel very strongly that there needed to be some much more significant appreciation.
Can we talk about the swimming hole? This might be one of my favorite scenes, but the person I was at the theater with didn't quite love this.
Okay, what was not appreciated by your companion?
At the swimming hole, as night starts falling, two fellow eaters show up, Jake and Brad. The one in the overall, who's played by the guy from Your Honor, or Boardwalk Empire, if you're Kelly. Disheveled as fuck. Looks awesome. Really, really cool.
Yeah, really phenomenal overalls.
Yeah, he's got a tall, lanky counterpart with him. A bit of a Renfield in a couple ways. Played by director David Gordon Green. Which I spotted immediately. I was like, what is fucking David Gordon Green doing in this?
Randomly. It was very weird.
And they go into a little bit more of a loose talk about how they're eaters. Almost braggadociously about it. Everyone else is kind of delicate and talk about it as if it's something that they just have to do, you know?
Yep.
However, these folks, they're talking about going bones and all, Kelly. Eating the whole body, bones and all.
Do you think that was a real thing? Like,
I would love to debate this with you. And weirdest thing, though, Brad turns out, Brad's not even an eater. He's like a groupie of eaters.
Which was just disgusting to Marin.
At this point, I whispered into the person's ear. I don't know if it was at this point, but at some point I did ask the question, something like, being a cannibal sounds kind of cool. Which,
wow,
in this
it's a bold
world,
statement.
And also it made me realize that maybe the parents who are disappointed about this film are justified in their criticism of it. Because Timothy and Marin, or I guess Lee and Marin, make it a little bit romantic to be devouring these people, not bones and all like Brad and Jake, but
right, but still
the same way that people who watch Twilight are like, "Ooh, I want to be a sparkly vampire." Maybe some kids.
You don't want to be a sparkly vampire?
Me personally, rather be an eater.
Personally,
I'm just joking, everybody. I don't want to eat anyone.
That's fine.
But
okay,
this little moment was really interesting. Probably one of my favorite scenes. But the person I was with thought that it was corny, like the bones and all, like being the title. That was the delivery. This like kind of silly moment.
I think I had bought into I'm so susceptible to I'm either bought in at this point and they can throw whatever they want at me.
Sure.
Or I'm not in and I'm going to criticize any of it. And I was fully in at this point.
I was too. I ate it up. God, didn't mean to say that even. I really did.
That was pretty funny.
That was a big whoopsie. I really did enjoy that moment, and that scene might be one of my favorites of this entire film. But they get the fuck out of there because.
So what did it mean to you when he chased them?
I don't know.
They were driving away?
I really don't know what that was, but it was scary.
It was very scary. It was that was like one of the more frightening parts.
When the two fall asleep after drinking some Bud Lights around the fire, they decide to get out of there because these people are dangerous. They're deranged. They're not good eaters. So they push the truck out of there, but they get caught, and the overall guy chases them out, which was like the closest to a jump scare in this film. Very startling stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
The carnival scene is really interesting.
Well, the carnival scene was a significant turning point. I think it was a turning point for Marin. I think it was a turning point for her recognition of what she was and what her path looked like.
And what Lee
And I think it was pretty unfair because I think she took that out on Lee.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of when I look at my girl's bedroom and it's a complete disaster and I get mad at them for not taking care of the stuff that I get for them.
Sure.
And then I go and look at my car and it's
just
worse.
Covered in cornflakes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? It's not fair because really it's just me and I'm taking it out. So it reminded me a little bit of that.
It's the moment in any sort of love story, relationship film, when Marin's forced to realize that Lee lived a life before her. They had crossed the line of like puppy love, everything's great. Lee existed as an eater before her, and it's not all pretty. Even though it's sweet. They go to the fair and she says, I'm hungry. They're on the Ferris wheel. And Lee decides to go hunt for his new partner.
Which was really nice.
It was considerate.
And then she was kind of mean about it.
Well,
I don't know.
Because they have their own little rules.
I started getting a little bit sick of her at this point. I was real frustrated with her.
I think that's reasonable. Do we want to go to Fergus Falls? I want to talk.
Don't think we should.
Yeah, I think we might slow down here for a second. You did have a question about the bones and all part that I would also like to talk about. You said, do you think that the guys were serious about it?
Well, part of it felt to me a little bit like I don't want to say hazing, but like freshmen in high school, the seniors will like scare the shit out of them about something like, oh, this is the way that this works, man. Like this teacher's really hard, or like this is what it's going to be like with the coach, or
snipe hunt almost.
Right. But it felt like that was a little bit like he was kind of getting his kicks on like, oh, these are newbies and I'm going to scare the shit out of them. But I don't know.
But I don't know if he was scaring the shit out of them. And I felt like it was almost like bragging, but I see what you're saying, though. It's like, it'd be like if a college guy's like, if your first night on campus, you don't have a threesome, like basically like that kind of behavior.
Yes.
Almost
bingo.
Locker roomy.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it felt like.
So you don't feel like anyone could physically, bones and all, in this world? Like eat a person, bones and all.
Maybe. It's not even that I think it was impossible as much as it feels, I don't know, like there's no way that's what he was intending by it.
Sure. Okay.
It was his vibe much more than it was whether I thought it was a possibility.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
How large, do you think they're taking big shits, Kelly?
Oh, that's disgusting. I didn't think about it. I don't want to.
They're eating a lot of people.
They are eating a lot of people. That's true.
All right. And that was just another thing I noted here. I don't need to talk much about that. I do want to mention something that I thought was really well handled by Luca. And it is a later scene, which we won't even walk up to it, where Sully returns and turns out he's been following Marin. And he, after Lee and her kind of part temporarily, asks her to come drive around the country with him in his van. And she says no. And there's a moment where he snaps and becomes erratic and calls her names. That really frightening. It really shook me. It made me realize like just how, and this is incredible that Luca was able to put this on screen and make it feel the way he did. But it made me like scared in a way that made me really recognize how frequently women have to be afraid of erratic men, especially men who are stronger than them, which it's horrifying, of course, but it's also really amazing that he was able to do that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Agree.
Did you agree? Yeah.
I agree. I think it was very frightening and also very familiar to me. The strategic handling of situations based on what, I don't know. You just have to be
managing the emotions of unstable men.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucked up.
It's not much fun in my experience, but I also feel lucky because I feel like I have to do it a lot less than many women do.
Jessica Harper's
observation.
Jessica Harper's in this thing. Plays Marin's grandmother, and I thought she was Sally Fields at first, which was very wrong of me.
I actually felt the same way, honestly. It was like she just looked oddly familiar. I don't want to say that I actually thought she was Sally Fields, but there was something very familiar about her that felt almost dissonant. I don't know if a human can be that way, but she wasn't quite what, I don't know.
Do you know who Jessica Harper is, though?
Nope.
So she played Susie in the original Suspiria from 1977, the lead.
Oh, well, that's fun, isn't it?
So cool that Luca got to work with her in this film, having done the remake of Suspiria. I love that.
Yeah, I agree.
We didn't really mention Sir David Mark Rylance Waters, who plays Sully. Apparently he's an extremely talented actor, and I think he did a really great job. I just want to mention that real quick. He's the first artistic, or was the first artistic director of Shakespeare's Globe in London between 1995 and 2005.
Yeah.
So he's a stage actor, but pretty accomplished. He's been knighted. Guy's extremely talented.
He's very, very talented. And also, I think Sam and I were talking about how he reminds us a little bit of Harry Dean Stanton.
I could see that. And it looks like he was actually also in Don't Look Up with Timothy Chalamet.
He was. He was. Yep.
Big shouts out to that gentleman. I could talk about this movie for fucking forever. I'm really glad that we got a chance to do this one, Kelly, because this wasn't on my radar. I was like, it's just a love story, Kelly, by the Call Me By Your Name guy.
And you were, I think, a little bit wondering whether Sam was going to like it or not. Sam thought it was phenomenal. He thought it was really, really, really good. He really liked it a lot.
All right. I just tried to search Love and All because we've been talking about love and basketball all day.
Basketball.
Yeah. I mean, unless you have any other things about the movie that you want to talk about, I think it's probably time for final thoughts.
Suspiria was, I never remember how I actually reviewed a movie, but looking back on it, I
could probably tell you your score. Let's see.
My cataloged mental impression of Suspiria was fairly meh. This was, I think, an experience that perfectly blended how moving Call Me By Your Name was and how frightening I was hoping Suspiria to be. It shows, I think, a very unique and infrequently hit mark where a director and a cast is able to create both horror and touching emotion and love within the same 2-hour window. Mm-hmm. This movie was a wonderful date night. I'm not sure how many people on the planet this would make a really great date night for, but for Sam and I, it was quite perfect. I got to cry over a Call Me By Your Name style love story, and he got to see a lot of blood and awkward, spooky social commentary through blood and gore. It was a really well done movie. I'm excited to see what Luca does next, and I'm very much hoping that both you and Sam will now watch Call Me By Your Name.
All right.
This is obviously gonna, I mean, it's hard because I feel like this happens so frequently. We get towards the end of the year and it's like a freight train, and suddenly I've got all these movies that, like, wow, how did movies that I thought were going to make it onto my top list. Now I'm like, I don't know if they're going to, because there are movies like this that are bumping others off. I am very hopeful that it will get some nominations for some real significant awards, because I do think that barrier keeps getting slowly chiseled away. So we'll see what happens. For a million different reasons, I give Bones and All 9.3 self-cannibalistic meals.
Oh, wow. Let's be people. Yeah, let's be them for a while.
Oh, saddest quote
we
ever.
Didn't lean too terribly much into the softer side of this film.
True.
The tender parts. But that's
I mean, that's what gets me.
Well,
but
that's what hooked me as well, Kelly. You know I'm a sucker. I'm a big softie, Kelly.
You can be a softie. It's true.
This is about as Byron as a film could get. Scored amazingly, shot beautifully, acted incredibly competently, pretty gnarly, if I'm being honest. It is incredibly graphic. There's no getting around that.
Well, there was certainly enough to keep you and Sam happy in it, yeah.
This isn't a film for everyone, but it is most certainly for me, and it did feel a little long. There was a moment during the third act that kind of hung, that I was like, all right, what are we doing? Oh,
really?
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't feel that.
It's 130 minutes long. It's not a short film, but
I felt like it was just the right length.
Well, just like a unspooled amount of braids, Kelly. Yeah.
Oh, that was uncomfortable, wasn't it?
For all those reasons, I give Bones and All 9.3 feet of braids. I think we just matched for the first time in a while, Kelly.
Whoa. Has that ever happened?
I don't know if it has, but...
I feel like one of us always changes to keep it from happening.
No, I wrote it down on this sheet of paper. I'm not going to change it now. Those are our thoughts on Bones and All, which is, I think, it's probably still in theaters. So go check it out. And once you have, let us know what you think.
Please do go check it out.
I want to hear your thoughts. Reach out to us on social media at Frightday on Gab and Parler, Truth Social, but mostly Instagram and Twitter. Or you can send us an email, contact@frightday.com. You can leave a comment below this episode in the show notes at frightday.com, or we can talk about it in the Facebook group. But I would rather you did it in the Discord server, discord.frightday.com. That's where I'm at. What else do I say? It's been a while.
It has been a while. Also, if I don't wrap up soon, my husband might actually eat my arms.
Oh, no, I don't want that. If you like our show and want to help us make it even better, grab something spooky at shop.frightday.com.
It is the season.
It is the season to buy things, and sometimes you can buy them for yourself, too. Give yourself a gift. You don't always have to give people things, but yeah. Pins, shirts, cassette tapes, all kinds of stuff. The hot sauce, we're launching 3 varieties at this point, not just Chipotle. Truly coming soon. Can't wait for you to see the updated art for the labels. I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I've already talked about it, the Frightday Society. If you want more, there's plenty there when you go to patreon.com/Frightday or call.frightday.com. The first 10 episodes available as well. 15% off everything in the store. But yeah, Kelly, you got your berets packed. Baguette for the plane. You've got some brie warming behind your knees. You've got a long flight ahead of you.
A couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find me by email, kelly@frightday.com. I'm just hovering on Twitter, just trying to watch it burn. But if you really want to send me something on there, feel free, Kelly Frightday. And I'll be celebrating the holiday season and doing all sorts of Frightday shopping and thanking all of the lucky stars that I have for you awesome listeners.
Oh. And I'm at Byron McKoy on Twitter and Instagram. Byron@frightday.com is my email address. And until next Frightday, I'm Byron.
I'm Kelly.
Don't eat an eater.
Yeah.
And stay scared. You've been listening to an Audio Wool original, produced by Byron McKoy, theme music provided by Cemeteries. For more programs like this, visit audiowool.co.